My name is Captain Rachel Brooks. I am 35 years old. I have served in the United States Army for over 12 years. I hold a top-secret clearance. I have deployed 3 times to combat zones, earned 2 commendation medals, and managed logistics for field hospitals under mortar fire. I am also the founder and CEO of ValorMed Technologies, a defense contracting firm that designs battlefield surgical robotics. Last year, my company cleared $420 million in revenue. But if you asked my family, they wouldn't tell you any of that. They wouldn't tell you about the company because they don't know it exists. They wouldn't tell you about my rank because they think I'm just in the Army. And they certainly wouldn't tell you about my husband, Mark, or our 5 children, Jack, Ellie, Noah, Grace, and Samuel. If you asked my family who I am, they'd give you a sigh. They'd tell you I'm the cold one, the distant one, the one who missed the blueprint for what a woman is supposed to be. They would tell you that I am lonely, that I chose a career over a life, that I am too hard, too sharp, too focused on things that don't matter in the soft, polite world of suburban expectations. For a long time, I let them believe that. I let them paint their picture of poor, lonely Rachel because it was easier than trying to explain a life they were committed to misunderstanding. But silence has a breaking point. This is the story of the day the silence broke. And the day my family learned that while they were busy pitying me, I was busy building an empire they couldn't even imagine. Growing up, I always felt like I'd been dropped into the wrong story. My family prized softness. In the Brooks household, girls were supposed to be decorative. We were supposed to wear pastel dresses, play the piano, and dream of weddings with lace veils and mason jar centerpieces. My older sister, Olivia, was the masterpiece. She was everything my parents wanted: quiet, pretty, obedient. She stayed close to home, went to the local state college, joined a sorority, and married her high school sweetheart at 22. Me? I liked climbing trees. I liked taking apart the toaster to see how the heating coils worked. I asked too many questions at dinner. My mom would shake her head when I came home with scraped knees or muddy shoes. She'd sigh, looking at my messy ponytail, and say, "Rachel, why can't you be more like your sister? Olivia knows how to sit still." In high school, I joined ROTC. It felt right in a way nothing else ever had. The discipline, the structure, the idea that respect was earned by what you did, not how pretty you looked doing it. I still remember the day I told my parents I wanted to apply to West Point. My dad put down his newspaper, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "You're not built for that, Rachel. You're too difficult. The Army will break you." He was wrong. The Army didn't break me. It made me. When I graduated near the top of my class and got into the academy, the most I got was a lukewarm, "good job." When Olivia announced she was pregnant with her first child, they threw her a surprise party that cost more than my first car. It wasn't that they didn't love me. I know they loved me in their own limited way. It was that they didn't see me. To them, I was a deviation, a glitch in the family program. When I commissioned as an officer, I tried to share my world with them. I'd call home from base, excited about my assignment in logistics. I'd try to explain how I was managing supply chains for thousands of troops. "That sounds stressful, dear," my mom would say, interrupting me. "Did you hear that Olivia is head of the PTA now? She's organizing the spring fling." Eventually, the calls got shorter. Then I deployed. Afghanistan. 22 months of dust, heat, and adrenaline. I didn't tell them when I met Mark, a trauma surgeon, in the medical corps. I didn't tell them when we got married in a small, beautiful ceremony in a chapel near the base, surrounded by soldiers who were more family to me than my own blood. I didn't tell them when we started ValorMed, sketching designs for portable surgical kits on napkins in a mess hall. And I didn't tell them when the babies came. It wasn't a malicious secret. I didn't hide in a bunker. I lived my life openly. My name was on the business registries. My marriage license was a public record. But my phone just never rang. I realized something profound during those years. You don't have to hide from people who never look for you. When I got the email about the event, I almost didn't go. It was a celebration for Olivia. She had been named Community Woman of the Year by the local Chamber of Commerce for her work organizing charity bake sales and library fundraisers. My mother's email was brief. It would mean a lot if you showed up for your sister. Try to make it. It's a big deal. I had just rotated home from an overseas tour in Germany. My flight landed 3 days before the ceremony. I was exhausted. I missed my kids, who were with Mark, finishing up some business in D.C. before driving down to meet me. But I went. Because part of me, the part that was still a little girl with scraped knees, wanted to try one last time. I showed up at the country club in a simple navy blue sheath dress. It was the only thing in my suitcase that wasn't a uniform or a business suit. I stood near the back, holding a glass of sparkling water. The garden was beautiful. Manicured hedges, string quartet, waiters passing hors d'oeuvres. I watched as people toasted Olivia. Her husband beamed. My mother dabbed tears. My father looked proud in a way he had never looked at me. At one point, my uncle raised a glass. To Olivia, he announced, the heart of this family, the pride of the Brooks name. I felt the words like a punch. The pride of the Brooks name. No one mentioned that I was a decorated captain. No one mentioned that I had just secured a defense contract that would save thousands of lives on the battlefield. No one asked how I was adjusting to being back on American soil. When I approached my father to say hello, he smiled politely, as if I were a distant cousin. "Rachel," he said, "glad you could make it. You look tired." "I just got back from Germany, Dad," I said. "Germany." He nodded vaguely. "Right. The army thing. Are you still doing that? Isn't your contract up soon? Your mother worries you're going to wake up at 40 with nothing to show for your life." I smiled. That tight, tactical smile I used when negotiating with hostile contractors. "I'm doing okay, Dad," I said. "I'm actually commanding a division now." "That's nice, dear," he said, looking past me to wave at a neighbor. "Oh, look, there's the Johnsons. Excuse me." He walked away. I stood there, alone in a crowd of people who shared my DNA, but knew absolutely nothing about my soul. Later, Olivia floated over. She looked perfect. Highlights, pearls, a dress that moved like water. "Rachel," she chirped, offering a cheek to kiss. "I'm so shocked you came. Mom said you were on assignment or whatever." "I made it back," I said. "Congratulations, Olivia. It's a nice award." "Oh, thank you," she sighed dramatically. "It's been so much work. You know, balancing the committee and the kids. But I guess you wouldn't understand that kind of pressure. You're lucky, really. Only having to worry about yourself." She squeezed my arm. "You know?" She lowered her voice, putting on a sympathetic face. "It's not too late, Rach. I know a guy in accounting. Divorced, but nice. Maybe you could settle down? Stop running around playing soldier?" I looked at her. I saw the genuine pity in her eyes. She really believed it. She believed I was a tragic figure, a barren spinster living out of a duffel bag. I'm happy, Olivia, I said quietly. She patted my arm again. Sure you are. Grab some champagne. It helps. She floated away. That night, I went back to my parents' house. I slept in my old room with the twin mattress and the faded debate team posters. I stared at the ceiling in the dark. My husband, Mark, texted me, ETA 1900 hours tomorrow. The kids are excited to see Grandma. Are you sure about this? You sound stressed. I typed back, they don't know we're coming. They don't know anything. Just come. I'm ready. I was done protecting them from the reality of my life. Dinner the next night was intimate, just the immediate family. We sat at a long table on the veranda, white linens fluttering in the breeze. Candles flickered. It looked like a scene from a magazine. I sat at the far end, cutting my salmon. I tuned out the conversation, which was entirely focused on the flower arrangements for the upcoming church auction. My mother leaned in suddenly. Her voice was soft, but in the quiet air, it landed like a grenade. You know, Rachel, she began, swirling her wine. Maybe it's for the best. I looked up. What is? That you never had children. The table went silent. Olivia stopped chewing. My father cleared his throat, but didn't look up from his plate. Excuse me? I asked, my voice steady. I just mean, my mother continued, smiling sadly. You're just not very maternal. You never were. Even as a little girl, you were so independent. So cold. I felt the blood rush to my ears. Cold? I repeated. Practical, she corrected, waving a hand. Logical. Too focused on tasks. Parenting takes heart, Rachel. It takes softness. Sacrifice. You've always chosen ambition. She looked at me with what she thought was kindness. I think God knew what he was doing. Some women are meant to be mothers, and some are meant to be, well, whatever you are. I looked around the table. Olivia was nodding slightly, validating the assessment. My father was drinking his wine, accepting this as a hard truth that needed to be spoken. It was 6:58 p.m. I glanced at my watch. Mark was punctual. He was a lieutenant colonel. He didn't do it late. I pressed my napkin into my lap to stop my hand from trembling. Not from sadness, from rage. 12 years. 12 years of leading soldiers. 12 years of building a medical technology company that saved lives. 12 years of raising 5 children with love, patience, and warmth. And this was how my mother saw me. A broken machine. You think I'm cold, I said softly. Oh, don't be sensitive, my mother sighed. We love you, Rachel. We just accept you for who you are. The career woman. The lone wolf. I opened my mouth to respond, but then I heard it. The sound of tires on gravel. The heavy thud of car doors closing. And then, the sound that changes everything. The front door opened. Mama? A small, high-pitched voice echoed from the hallway. The entire table froze. My mother turned around in her chair. Into the dining room walked Maria, our nanny, pushing a sleek, triple-wide stroller. Inside sat my 3-year-old triplets, Jack, Ellie, and Noah. They were dressed in matching outfits, their eyes wide as they looked around the strange house. Behind Maria came Mark. He was in his dress blues, his rank of lieutenant colonel gleaming on his shoulders. He was carrying our 6-month-old twins, Grace and Samuel, one in each arm. He looked tall, commanding, and utterly out of place in this pastel suburban dining room. He scanned the room, found me, and smiled. Sorry to crash the party, Mark said, his voice deep and warm. Traffic on I-95 was a nightmare, and Noah insisted on a bathroom break. He walked over to me, leaned down, and kissed me. A real kiss. Familiar. Loving. "Hi, honey," he said. "Hi," I whispered. The table was dead silent. My mother's wine glass slipped from her fingers. It hit the table, sending a red stain spreading across the white linen. No one moved to clean it. Olivia's mouth was hanging open. My father looked like he was having a stroke. "Rachel?" my mother whispered. Her voice was barely audible. Whose children are these?" I stood up. I walked over to the stroller. Jack reached out his arms immediately. "Mama, up!" he demanded. I lifted him onto my hip. He buried his face in my neck, smelling my perfume, settling instantly into the comfort of his mother. I turned to face my family. "Mine," I said. "Yours?" Olivia choked out. "But 5? "Triplets and twins," I said calmly. "Jack, Ellie, Noah, Grace, and Samuel." I gestured to Mark. "And this is my husband, Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Mark Whitman, Chief of Trauma Surgery at Walter Reed." Mark nodded politely. "Pleased to meet you all. Rachel has told me, well, she hasn't told me much, actually." My father stood up slowly, his legs shaking. "You're married? You have 5 children? How? When?" "We've been married for 5 years," I said. "The triplets are 3. The twins are 6 months old." My mother stood up, her face pale. "But you never told us." She looked at me with betrayal in her eyes. "How could you hide this from us, Rachel? Your own family. How could you keep my grandchildren a secret?" The accusation hung in the air. How could you? I handed Jack to Mark and took a step forward. "I didn't hide anything," I said. My voice was low, but it carried the weight of a judge's gavel. "I have had the same phone number for 15 years, I said. "I have the same email address. My home address is listed in the public directory." I looked my mother in the eye. "You didn't know because you never called." The room went deadly still. "That's not true," my mother stammered. We talk when you need something," I corrected. "Or when you want to tell me about Olivia. But tell me, Mom, when was the last time you called me just to ask, 'How are you, Rachel? What's new in your life?'" She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. She searched her memory, and I watched the realization hit her. She couldn't remember. "Was it 4 years ago?" I asked. 5? Before I deployed to Germany? Before I met Mark? I looked at my father. "You assumed I was single. You assumed I was barren. You assumed I was lonely. Because that fit the story you wanted to tell about me, the cold Rachel, the disappointment." I gestured to my beautiful, chaotic family. Meanwhile, I was building this. I was raising 5 children. I was running a household. "But the money," Olivia whispered, staring at the designer stroller, Mark's uniform, and diamond on my finger. 5 kids? A nanny? On an army salary? I laughed. It was a dry, sharp sound. "Oh, right," I said. "I forgot to mention the other thing you never asked about." I walked back to the table and picked up my purse. "I'm not just a captain," I said. "I'm the CEO of ValorMed Technologies." My father's head snapped up. "ValorMed? The defense contractor?" He knew the name. Everyone in the military knew the name. "We supply the surgical robotics for half the field hospitals in NATO," I said. "I founded it 6 years ago. Last year, our revenue was $420 million. I let that number hang in the air. $420 million. My father looked at me with a mixture of awe and horror. He realized, in that second, that the daughter he had pitied for being a government employee was likely the wealthiest person in the state. "You," my mother whispered. "You're a CEO and a mother of 5? "Yes," I said. "And I'm damn good at both." I leaned in, placing my hands on the table where the wine was still spreading. You called me cold tonight, Mom. You said I lacked heart. You said I wasn't maternal. I pointed to my children who were happily cooing at Mark. My children are loved. They are safe. They are thriving. And I built a company that saves thousands of soldiers' lives every year. That takes heart. That takes sacrifice. That takes a hell of a lot more softness than arranging flowers for a gala. I stood up straight. I didn't hide my life from you. You just never looked. You were so busy staring at Olivia that you didn't notice I had built a kingdom right next door. I turned to Mark. Let's go. The kids are tired. Mark nodded. He signaled Maria. They turned the stroller around. Rachel, wait, my father said, stepping forward. Please, don't go. We didn't know. I know you didn't, I said. I walked to the door. I put my hand on the knob. And that, I said, looking back at them one last time, is something you're going to have to live with. My mother found me in the driveway. Mark was buckling the kids into our rented SUV. The engine was idling. She ran out, breathless, clutching her shawl. She looked smaller than I remembered. Older. Rachel, she called out. I stopped. I didn't turn around immediately. I took a deep breath of the cool night air. I turned. You can't just leave, she said, tears streaming down her face. Those are my grandchildren. I have a right. You have no rights, I cut her off. My voice was calm, but firm. Biology gives you a relation, Mom. It doesn't give you a relationship. She flinched. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry we didn't ask. I'm sorry we assumed. But please, don't punish us for this. I want to know them. She looked at the car, at the blurry shapes of the babies in the windows. I was afraid, she whispered. I was afraid you were too hard, that you'd drifted away. So I stopped reaching out because I didn't want to feel rejected. You rejected me first, I said. Every time you compared me to Olivia, every time you called me cold. I know, she sobbed. I was wrong. I see that now. Please, Rachel, can we start over? I looked at her. I saw the regret. It was real, the shock of realizing she had missed everything. The weddings, the births, the milestones, had finally broken through her narcissism. But I wasn't the same girl who used to beg for scraps of affection. I was a captain. I was a CEO. I was a mother. I had boundaries now. We can't start over, I said. We can't erase the last 15 years. She looked down, defeated. But, I continued, we can start here. Her head snapped up. Hope flickered in her eyes. But here are the rules, I said. You respect my life. You respect my parenting. You respect my husband. No more comparisons to Olivia. No more comments about my coldness. If you criticize me, we leave. If you ignore me, we leave. I stepped closer. I don't need you, Mom. I have a full, beautiful life without you. So if you want to be part of it, you are a guest, not a critic. She nodded frantically. I understand. I promise. Just, please don't disappear again. I never disappeared, I said. I was here the whole time. I turned and walked to the car. Mark opened the passenger door for me. He looked at me with that steady, grounding gaze he always had. You okay? He asked quietly. I looked back at the house. My mother was standing in the driveway, watching us, looking like a ghost of the past. Yeah, I said. I'm okay. I climbed into the car. As we drove away, leaving the perfectly manicured lawn and the judgmental silence behind, I reached back and squeezed Jack's little foot. I wasn't the cold one. I wasn't the lonely one. I was the one who escaped. And as I looked at my family, my real family, I knew that was the greatest victory of all.